My guest today is a physician by profession. During his medical career, he got the opportunity to work with other medical trailblazers such as Susan Ofuriatta and Matilda J. Clark, the first and second Ghanaian women physicians respectively. A pioneering medical educator, he taught at the newly established University of Ghana Medical School. He also did his medical outreach in the Congo in the 1960s. My guest also served as the second Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology from 1967 to 1973. As Vice Chancellor of the KNUST, he was the first to introduce the ceremony commonly known as matriculation into the university entry ceremonies. He again chaired the National Council for Higher Education, now National Council for Tertiary Education. Under the administration of Dr. Hilal Iman, my guest served as a Council of State member. In 2006, our guest was decorated with the Order of the Star of Ghana. The Order of the Star of Ghana is the highest award given by the government of Ghana. In 2003, KNUST awarded him with an honorary Doctor of Science degree. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom is my guest. Us in your garden.
Thank you.
Indeed, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, very welcome.
Thank you. Now, Doc, you turned 100 this year. How does it feel to be 100 years? What are the ups and downs of your age that we don't know?
Well, it has not been smooth. It's been a rocky, sometimes bushy path.
Okay.
So I've gone over this path in so many places and times and in different places.
Sure.
Mostly in Ghana, that have been practically every important country in the world, you know, which my work has taken me.
Now, tell us about Ghana or the Gold Coast during your time. That's in the 1920s, 1930s. How was Ghana like?
Well, that was what they call the colonial period, where it was a master and servant relationship between the British and Gold Coasters.
Gold Coasters.
And gradually, you know, we began to have leaders who had foresight. The greatest among them was Governor Gagisbeg. Important, you know, achievements for Gagisbeg was in education, health, and transportation.
Specifically,
and therefore,
okay.
Specifically for education, he founded Achimota School. It was a college, therefore, at that time, because all the sections were there, from the kindergarten to beginnings of tertiary education. For health, symbolized by Kolebu Hospital, which he intended someday to become a teaching hospital to train doctors to replace the departing British when the time came. Although none of us ever felt that the time would ever come.
Korle will become a teaching hospital.
We now have a teaching hospital. But this was Gaggisberg's vision.
His vision.
At the time.
At the time.
Yes. And then the third one for transportation was Takoradi Harbour.
Takoradi Harbour.
Long before Tema Harbour was dreamt of. And being a surveyor in my profession, he helped in mapping out the country. So we made, unfortunately, Gaggisberg died just a year or two after, all these achievements were realized.
Tell us about your days. How did you dress? What kind of food did you eat? How was your lifestyle like? Those days there was no electricity, no television, no computers. How did you cope?
Well, I say now that if you ask me the difference between the old and the new, I ask you, what is 1 + 1?
Obviously 2.
Yes. In the old days, they would say 2 straight away. But now, they ask you, have you got a computer? He's now going to compute, the difference between the old and the new. And yet, the old and the new, to me, has been the advancement in technology. And the decadence in morality.
Decadence in morality.
Yes.
Today.
That's my difference between the old and the new.
So what kind of food did you eat? How did you
natural food. We hadn't become accustomed to Quaker oats and all these things. We ate, in some places they ate fufu for breakfast, And this is still in the villages, natural living, But then, especially if you had the opportunity to travel abroad. I spent almost 8 years abroad. So when I came back, it was difficult for me to eat kinky. I knew the reason why.
What was the reason?
There was a sharpness in the parotid, the salivary glands for kinky, that I could eat banku. I suppose the way they were prepared,
Today we prefer the fried rice, pizza, those exotic kinds of foods.
Yes.
And I'm linking this to life expectancy level. Today, the people don't grow that old, like your kind, 40, 50, 60. As a medical practitioner and having lived in your era and today, what do you think is accounting for this decreased years in terms of death rates in this country?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I prefer natural food, And you go to a restaurant and you are served, or you order fried rice in a Chinese restaurant, for example. And they give you fried rice with weeds, almost like you are eating grass. And people pay high amounts for these things. We don't know how nutritious they are. So I think it's beginning to become a status symbol.
Now, Prof. Anfom, tell us about your early childhood. Which part of Accra were you born? And growing up, what kind of advice did your parents give you to guide you to become a responsible person in future?
Well, I was born in Jamestown,
Accra.
Accra. When you go on the high street towards Kolebu and the lighthouse, you reach the junction where the Salaga Market Road, becomes a junction. Almost at that point, on the left side, was Evans' house, where I was born. And just across the road was the government junior school, where we all started school. And we had till the bell went, and then we ran across to school.
To school. So who were your parents?
My parents, I give my mother first.
Okay.
My mother was the child of W.T. Evans, William Timothy Evans, whose grandfather came from Wales.
Wales. Okay.
Yes. There were two brothers who came from Wales, and they married half-sisters.
Okay.
So we have two sections of the Evans family in Ghana. That I come into my uncle, my grandfather, who was a modeler when I was a child. He worked for the Basel mission, and he was a catechist and a tutor at the Akropong. It was a teacher training college at the time, one of the first in the country. He worked there for 25 years. So my mother and all her siblings were born in Akropong. And he married a half-caste.
That's your father.
That's my mother.
Okay.
So children were both, they were almost white. And my mother spoke fluent Akwapimtwi. Was born there and educated there in the Basel mission.
Okay.
And when my grandfather settled, she bought property at Mampong, Akwapim.
Dr. Anfom, kindly tell us about your father, Mr.
Yes. My father came from Nzema land.
Okay.
But he was a customs immigration officer who was transferred to Ada, and this was where he met my paternal grandmother.
Okay.
So he was there for I don't know how long, but he had to go back home. So to be almost vulgar, he just sold his wild oats and went back. In those days, the places like the customs railways, posts and telegraphs, were dotted with, I wouldn't say foreigners, but people who were educated,
The elites.
Yes. And they were being transferred, here and there at the time. So it means that they were at liberty to do what they like. I'll tell you a story.
Please do tell me.
Which illustrates this. My good friend, the late mathematician, Professor Aloti. Now, if you call your name Aloti, many people knew you came from Accra, from the Sempe quarter of Accra, and therefore a Ghana. When I took office as Vice Chancellor at UST, KNUS, now KNUS, he was on study leave abroad. When he came back, he thought it prudent to come and greet me, call on me in my office. So as soon as he entered, I said, Jeff, Jeff. And he stood there looking at me, He didn't understand Jeff.
Yeah, Professor Aloti is a fancy.
I thought he was
a Ghana because of the surname.
Yes. So his origin was like mine. And we became very good friends, not for that, on account of that, but for other things. And this happened all the time, sowing wild oats.
Before I take my first break, growing up, what kind of advice did your parents give you so that you grew up becoming a responsible person?
Well, as I told you, my parents, my mother was born at Akropong, and his father worked for the Basel Mission. And he could have become a priest, but for the sake of his health, he was content with becoming a catechist and a preacher, or rather a tutor in the college, you see. And therefore, they felt that I should be brought up in the knowledge and the fear of God, which in those days you could get only in Basel Mission schools. So from Jamestown, where I was attending government school, at the age of 9, my parents took me to Osu, where the Basel Mission firmly established. And I started going to Basel Mission schools, which later on became Presbyterian school. And in those schools, if you want discipline, you don't go to the army. You went to a place called Osu Salem.
Osu Salem.
Okay. Because they teach you how to obey and also how to give orders. And the foundation of your knowledge of God and fear of God is raised in this at Osu Salem.
Osu Salem. So after Osu Salem, you went to Achimota School?
After Osu Salem, I went to
Achimota.
Achimota.
Okay. At this point, I'll take a quick break. When I come back, we'll talk about Achimota. I learned you became even the school prefect at Achimota School. And you loved beans. So let me take my first break. When we come back, we'll talk more concerning Achimota School. Okay. The program is Legends of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television. My guest for today is Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom, Ghana's oldest living medical practitioner. Don't go away, stay with us. Watching Legends of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television. On Legends of Our Time, we talk to our heroes who make all of us happy. My name is Gifty Ej, and my guest for today is Ghana's longest living medical practitioner, and he is in the person of Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom. Hello, Doc. Now, let's talk about Achimota School.
Yes.
I know you have some memorable stories you'd want to share with us. The first one is it was Achimota School that you got addicted to beans. What is it about beans that was so special at the time in terms of your diet?
Well, I entered at Achimota when the college was 8 years old. And it was sponsored by the government, you know, everything provided. It was autonomous from government. It had a council, you know, and they provided everything.
So you went to school free?
Really provided everything which will help you to train your head, your hand, heart, and your heart. Your school. It was a wonderful
experience.
School. And you said I was I was a school prefect, but not the senior prefect.
Okay.
I acted for senior prefect for a short while when the senior prefect was ill, but I was the house prefect. And the prefect was for little ones, the small ones, who become important members of the community. One such was Victor Owusu, who, as you know, was a presidential aspirant.
Okay.
You know, and the others, you know, and they were very childish at the time. I was sent there because I like sports. And I used to play sports with the little boys, you see. And that gave me a lot of experience later on when I had to occupy important positions in life.
Because of sports?
You see, so I mean, the sports and for relationship with children, with young people.
Teamwork.
Pardon?
Teamwork.
Yes. And that, you see. So, at Achimota, I was giving of course, was neglecting the academic work. I was very interested in sports.
In sports.
I became, if I may say so, an ace hockey player.
Ace hockey player.
You know, everywhere I went. And then we had things for what they call hobby. Metal work, woodwork, you know, for the women, cooking, and
catering.
So Achimota really, you know, even though there was the same sort of discipline which I had at Osusalem, but it was more liberal.
At Achimota.
You know, from Osusalem and at Achimota, I felt like a chicken who's been tied up for years, and then
Set free.
now free.
So there was freedom in Achimota School.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
So you always wanted to become a surgeon.
not immediately.
Okay.
At first, I wanted to be like my grandfather.
A priest.
He was my model. My maternal grandfather, W.T. Evans. Then I discovered that I could draw a bit, and I was given a scholarship after my school certificate year to come and start a special art course, you know, at the time of Professor Ernest Asihene, and later on, Theodosia Oku,
Okay.
who designed it. Theodosia didn't come to Achimota when I was there. It was her elder brother.
Okay. So she was your junior.
Pardon?
She was your junior, kind of.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You know. So I was given this 3-year special art course. And then one day I was going to the sports field, and I heard a voice call me, Anfom. It was my mathematics master, who wasn't a great friend of mine.
You didn't like
know.
maths. You didn't like maths.
Well, I can do maths, but it wasn't my favorite
What
subject.
was your favorite subject?
You know,
Which one was your favorite subject?
I think biology.
Biology.
Yes.
Okay.
He called me, you see, and I was surprised. So, sit down, Anfom. So I sat down. I hear you coming to do a special art course and that sort of thing. If you do so, you find that you wasted your time. You can use art as a hobby, but not to make money from art,
It's a profession.
even at that time. You see, it was a Saturday. I said, oh, you're good friends, you know, angling for something else. And you are always either at the top or near the top.
Near the top.
And you're going to, waste your time.
With a
But at
special
that
course.
time, his own brother had been sent abroad on scholarship for dentistry,
Okay.
and he became the first
Dentist
dentist.
in Ghana.
Yes, on scholarship. You know. So I was really troubled. So I stopped going to and I went back home to my cubicle. All day I was thinking about this.
What to do?
I'd been on the Red Cross, we'd been to villages, you know. So I said, well, after all, I must have a humanitarian streak, you see. But the only person who could do anything to change the course was the principal
The principal.
of the college. So I waited all day. Then in the evening, at about 7 o'clock, I went to the principal's bungalow. Unannounced. From there. Anfom. What do you want at this time of night? I said, I came to see you, sir, because you are the only one who can solve my solution, my problem. Okay, come in. Sat down. He and his wife were sort of having some refreshment before supper. Sit down. Then his wife asked me, Anfom, how's your examination going? This was about 2 months to school certificate examination. How is it going? And I said, well, very good, madam. You think you'll pass? I said, well, I think I'll pass. I don't know whether I'll get distinction or not. Yes, as for passing, I know I'll pass. You see? So I looked very sad and troubled, you know. Then after a few seconds, the principal said, will you excuse me? Anfom has some business, which he says I'm the only one who can solve. And so we'll go to the study for a short time. So when we go to the study, I said to him, I'll go straight to the point, sir. Yes, he said, what is the point? I know you've done a lot for me. Because I was the prefect, we had regular meetings with the principal. So he knew me well. So I said, I know you've done a lot. And now I'm going to ask you to do a difficult, to request you, sir, to do a difficult turnaround. He said, okay, come. I said, I've changed my mind. I want to be a doctor.
To do medicine. So that was when
Then the principal said, let me see your hands.
And what has that got to do with medicine?
Let me see your hands. Then when he saw my fingers, he said, well, I suppose you'll be a good surgeon. A very prophetic statement.
On your life.
Have you done science? I said, no. Not that I don't know any science. We've done, basic science and that sort of thing. But fortunately, we're going to run a 6 months
course.
Course for repetition, especially for students coming from other colleges, like Evans-Anfom, they have a lot of, theory, but they need laboratory practice, you see. So I had to spend 6 months breaking my head, to try to get, they had 6 months course for these people coming from outside. So if you can pass it, then we can take you into, Fortunately,
you passed.
I passed it, and that changed my life.
That changed your life. And today, you are the oldest living surgeon here in Ghana.
Yes.
That's quite a record. So now let's...
Not only that, but I became a surgeon.
A renowned one.
Yeah. Well, the second in command.
So watching Legends of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television on Legends of Our Time, we talk to people who impact our society. And today my guest is the longest surviving medical practitioner here in Ghana. And he is in the person of Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom. So Doc, tell us, you were telling us some of the cases you saw in the consulting room, and the leading one was malaria. At the time, what drug did you use to treat malaria? The anti-malaria, what kind of drug did you use?
The drug we had, which was no friend to children.
Okay.
Quinine. as bitter as anything. Quinine was for both for treatment and for prevention.
Prevention. So in case of children, what did you do? What did you do for children? Since
Yeah,
quinine was
mixture.
for adults.
It wasn't for adults. It was for it was given in stated doses for children.
You know, today we are recording a lot of the non-communicable diseases like the pressure, the diabetes, and the likes. Why is it so?
Well, I think it's because of the type of life we are leading. You know, people say you get diabetes when you eat more sugar than you should.
But is that the case?
It's not entirely true.
What is the truth, Doc?
Well, a style of life, in a sense, you know. Now, if you try to cross the road, in the olden days, you can walk through as if you were in heaven. Now, you try strolling, and you'll be knocked down.
You'll be knocked down.
Yes, you see. So life has become faster. Fast life, you know. If you can't cope with it, then you develop all sorts of things.
And
so I would say so.
Are you worried the way we are going, the direction in which we are going, that kind of fast life you just cited? Are you worried in a way?
No. If we use the weapons that technology has given us wisely for the good rather than for the bad, then we will get on. But it looks as if the technology weapons are being used for the bad.
For the bad. Let me still dwell on your practice as a medical doctor. What were some of the challenges you experienced in the course of your practice?
Well, as a medical doctor, before I became a specialist, you know, I'd worked at so many district hospitals, you know, and some with no electricity. You had to use a lantern in operating.
In operating?
Yes.
And they survived?
Well, if they're lucky. And they said the operator is good, you know. In those days, we had very few qualified surgeons, you know, Ghanaian surgeons. You see, but so many areas that lack. You know, I worked in Dunkwa for 15 months without any X-ray. So if you broke any part and that sort of thing, I could have worked on it. But because I had no X-ray, I sent you to Kumasi. You know? So, yes, the lack, you know, of weapons to use. Not that the doctors are not good. But
the logistics were not there.
Yes. You see, now, in those days, there was no scanning. You know, the advantage there is I can diagnose appendicitis without a scan.
How did you do it? How did you do it?
I will examine you thoroughly.
Okay.
This sort of examinations that will be done. But these days, it's possible as soon as you get there, the doctor touches you and then asks for a scan. You've got a fibroid sticking in the face.
You can see fibroid from the face.
All you do is to examine the patient properly. Then you know it's fibroid. But they'll send you to have a scan. So these things are also important.
So you think our doctors today are
No, no,
lazy?
it's because they got these weapons
to work with?
They turn to them easily. And if you haven't worked in the district before, you are at a great disadvantage. Because my working in different Dunkwa, Takwa, Secondary, Tamale, all these places, has helped me to improvise, where it's lacking. Blood transfusion, for example, a patient will bleed to death, unless you are ready, to just take a little bit of the patient's blood and whatever there is, give it back to the patient and then start, and you may succeed.
Wow.
So I think the modern, weapons, MRI, all these things, we were not think of. To think of it. I have a nail in my hip just now. In those days, there was not that the technical maneuver is difficult, but it's because they are still working on the type of material that can be used for the nail. You see, once they got it, otherwise your body will react and reject the nail. And you see.
So how did it feel to lose a patient? I'm sure there were a couple of times that... I said, how did it feel to lose a patient at the time?
Well, if you've done all that you can do, you know you've done it.
You did your best.
And then that's to lose a close relative or a close friend is very difficult.
It's very difficult.
It's
very difficult.
Something you couldn't do anything about.
Couldn't do anything about. That's fine. Now, aside being a medical doctor, you also went into medical administration, becoming a lecturer, then a vice chancellor, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Take us through your administrative path.
Well, I must say that when the medical school started, the staff strength was very low.
Like how many?
In surgery, the surgery I always say was top heavy. It had all the qualified surgeons in the country, surgery. And it was only 3 years. Then I left then and went to, Kwame Nkrumah. I wasn't a professor.
Okay.
When I protested that I wasn't a professor, they said, he's not a professor we are. We're not after a professor for a university. We want somebody
who can do the job.
And this is where I looked at my upbringing. Also Salem, Achimota, Edinburgh. These made it possible for me to do.
To some extent.
And when people were protesting, I said, yeah, you're a doctor, yeah, and then you got to do administration. And my very good friend, the late Professor Bedu, who really suffered more by my leaving said, well, Anfom, go. Otherwise, they'll think if you're a doctor, you can't do anything. They won't even elect you president. So good. So I went.
He encouraged you to go.
Pardon?
I said he encouraged you to join KNUST
Yes.
today. You were on record to be the Vice Chancellor who actually introduced the matriculation ceremony.
Yes.
At what point did you decide to introduce that program? How was it like before you introduced that program?
Well, I did it because in my university in Edinburgh, they had that. The only thing is, they didn't assemble everybody, to sign. But really, and in all universities, you have to sign, register. To go in. But in my case, I thought it was a good opportunity for the new Vice Chancellor to address, especially the new students coming in, to remind them of the what the taxpayer has worked hard
to invest in them,
for them to come to do. Invest. So they should do it well, and then go back to serve the taxpayer.
Okay, now let's look at your other portfolio. You became a member of the Council of State. Which government was that?
The man.
Under Liman. What were some of the policies you held in shaping, to run our country?
The Council of State is supposed to advise the president, and my council at that time was Foriata as chairman. Very important people. Mr. Justice Ole, Bishop Sapon, Bishop Derry, very important people, And the speaker at the time was Griffiths Randolph, the father of the present First Lady, Mr. Justice Griffiths. And he was very thankful to the Council of State, because he said, we studied each legislation that comes. I said, we studied and we advised them on it. He thought the Council of State, needs to be, really people of substance.
People of substance. Is that the case today? Our current Council of State, is that what you see?
I don't think. The names I call, 2 bishops, 2 chiefs, in Emmanuel, the chiefs, 2 big chiefs, and that sort of thing. Now you don't have these big names. So that makes me think that our council was the best.
Your council was the best. We'll take our last break, and when we come back, we'll talk about your awards, your children, grandchildren, and then of course we'll wrap up. So the program is still Legend of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more. Please stay. Welcome back. The program is Legends of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television. On Legends of Our Time, we celebrate our heroes who make all of us proud. My name is Gifty Ejay, and my guest for today is Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom. Hello, Doc. So tell us, with your contribution to our country, Ghana, do you think you've been celebrated enough as a person?
Well, I must tell you that I was very surprised when the Medical and Dental Council on the 13th of September decided to honor me
This year?
with an award, you know, which more or less celebrating me, you know. Having left the field of practical and gone into education, I thought they would say, oh, he's deserted us, you see. But I was very surprised at that award, you know. And then, lo and behold, the president was there, you know, which gave some, you know, weight
To the
to
award.
the award, you see. Well, I don't know what to think by being honored enough. I think my policy is just to do what you can, trust in God and do the right. That's my policy.
That's your policy.
If the country feels that I've served her well and have more honest, I'm ready. If they are not, if they don't feel that way, I'm ready.
But have you been given a national award yet?
Well, in the year 2006, President Kufuor, that's a long lull, you know, gave 150 awards. Among the awards, the Order of the Star of Ghana.
Okay.
And that's the highest
That's the
award.
highest
And
award of the life.
25 people were given that award,
And you were one of them.
including 4 ladies. And I was among the 25.
Wow. Congratulations. But aside that, you've been given numerous awards by numerous institutions and groups.
Well, I must tell you that one of the awards which I value most is the Edinburgh Alumnus of the Year Award, which was given to me in 1996.
What is so special about that award?
Well, that award goes to a former student of the university who has done a lot for the development of his or her country.
Her country. And that is where you had your university education.
Well, no. Yeah, well, that's where I had my university medical, yes, education. Yes.
Now tell us about your nuclear family, your wife, children, and then grandchildren. So tell us about them.
Well, those who know my children know that they're all bigger than I am.
How many of them?
I have 3 boys and 1 girl. I have 2 architects and 1 lawyer who is the girl, and 1 business, you know, well, I don't know what they call it. He did business administration, you know. And they are all the children of my first wife, who I lost 40 years ago.
That's way back.
Yes. And then I was lucky, 4 years after, to marry my second wife. We've been married for more than 30 years,
Oh.
you know. So she's the one who has keeping me going.
She has been keeping you going.
Yes.
And how many grandchildren?
Grandchildren, I think about 12.
About 12 of them.
The two refers to great-grandchildren.
Oh, okay. So what makes you happy, Dr. Anfom?
That I'm alive to serve God. And I'm ready every time to do what I can do, what God knows that I can do. Guys have a saying, when you are given the road, they give you something, taku, to carry.
What's your hobby? I learned you sing. I learned you love to sing.
Yes, when I had a good voice.
But now your voice is gone. But at least you can try something. Let's do with the Achwater School anthem.
Were you at Achwater?
It was my dream, but I didn't get the opportunity. But
get an old Achwater to sing for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Favorite music?
No. Classical music.
Classical music.
And church music, you know. And sometimes I wonder, you know, how these old masters like Handel, Mozart, and all these things, I know a lot about them, you see, how they managed to, to compose these. Yesterday morning, I was listening. They played through the whole of the Messiah by Handel in the morning at 6:30. Radio Ghana, unique radio.
Unique FM.
Yes. And they left just through at the end. Hallelujah chorus, and where there is the Lamb. You know. And I really enjoyed it.
You really enjoyed it. We are about wrapping up, but let me give you this opportunity to comment on anything in Ghana today that you think worth talking about. It could be any topic that you want to, comment on.
I think I've alluded to some of them already. Education, education, education.
We should go to school.
Yes.
But we're already going to school.
Mm-hmm.
We're already going to school. We are in school.
Yeah, but some people are against free SHS. And don't we know? We know that. So I feel if we are more educated, we'll understand the issues better.
So the program has been Legends of Our Time on GBC News and Ghana Television. My guest for today has been Dr. Emmanuel Evans-Anfom. He is the oldest living medical practitioner here in Ghana. My name is Gifty Ejay. We'll come your way same time, God willing, next week. Until then, bye.